Today we're going to look at the 2018 Leaving Cert Higher Level Flexible Budget question. Part A of this question asks us to separate production overheads into fixed and variable elements. So to do that, the first thing we're going to do is to get the variable cost per unit, because when we have that, we'll be able to get the variable costs, and when we have the variable costs, we'll be able to work out the fixed costs. So to get the variable cost per unit, we're going to use the high-low method. So to do that, we're going to get the highest and lowest units from the question. So if we go back to the question and we look at production overheads, the highest units are 36,000 units and the lowest units are 24,000 units. So we're going to have the highest are 36,000 units and the lowest are 24,000 units. So the difference here is going to be 12,000 units. We're going to do the same for the total cost. So if we go back to the question, the total cost, the highest total cost for production overheads are 184,600. And the lowest cost for production overheads are 132,400. So the difference will be 52,500 units. So to work out the variable cost per unit, I'm going to get my total cost, which is 52,200, and I'm going to divide that by the number of units, which is 12,000, which gives me a variable cost per unit of €4.35. Now, if we get the total production overheads from the questions, I can see that by total for the 24,000 units, the total production overheads are 132,400. For 30,000 units, they are 158,500. And for the 36,000 units, they are 184,600. That's the total production overhead cost. Now I can work out the variable cost by getting the number of units and multiplying it by the variable cost per unit of €4.35. So for 24,000 units, it will be 24,000 multiplied by 4.35. For 30,000 units, it will be 30,000 multiplied by €4.35. And for 36,000 units, it will be 36,000 multiplied by €4.35. Now I'm going to take those away, so I'm just going to put all those in as a minus. So now if I have my total production overhead and I take away my variable element, it will leave me with the fixed cost. So the fixed cost should be the same for each amount of units, because as the name suggests, the costs are fixed. So the fixed costs will be €28,000. We are asked in part 2 of the question, we are asked to do the same thing for other overheads, to separate other overheads into fixed and variable elements. So again, this is done the same way. We're going to use a high-low method. So for other overheads, again, the same as above. The number of units will be the same. 36,000 is the highest number of units. 24,000 is the lowest number of units. So the difference, again, will be 12,000. Now the costs, so the total cost, the highest cost for other overheads are 250,800. And the lowest costs for other overheads are 169,200. So the difference there is going to be 81,600. So now to work out the variable cost per unit, I'm just going to get the difference in the cost of 81,600, and I'm going to divide that again by the number of units, which is 12,000, and that will give me a variable cost per unit of €6.80. Now again, to work out my fixed cost, I'm going to start off with the total other overheads. That should say other overhead. So the total other overhead cost for each amount of units. So if we go back to the question, other overheads here for 24,000 units are 169,200. For 30,000 units, they are 210,000. And for 36,000 units, they are 250,800. Again, I'm going to take away my variable cost, which again will be the units, but this time I'm going to multiply it by the variable cost per unit for other overheads, which is 680. So I'm going to have 24,000 multiplied by 680, 30,000 multiplied by 680, and 36,000 multiplied by 680. And again, when I add those down, I get a fixed cost of 6,000, and again that should be the same the whole way across. So my fixed cost for other overheads is 6,000. The next part to the question is part 3. It says provide a flexible budget for 95% activity level using marginal cost of principles and show the contribution. So we have to do out a flexible budget for 95% activity level. Okay, so the first thing we have to do here is work out the number of units. So in the question it tells us that 36,000 units are 90%. Okay, so it says when we can see back here from the question, when the output is 36,000, we're working at 90%. Now, in this part of the question, it says we're working at a 95% level. So if 36,000 is 90%, if I divide that by 90, and then to get 95, I multiply it by 95%. So 95% activity level will be 38,000 units. So now, again, I won't know my sales for a minute. I'll come back to my sales in a minute. I'm going to fill in all the total costs first. Okay, because in the question, it says that profit is budgeted to be 20% of sales. So if profit is 20% of sales, then my total costs must be 80% of sales. So if I work out my total costs, then I'll be able to work out my sales. So the first thing I need to do is to work out the variable costs. So direct material. Well, material and wages, they're both completely variable. So if I go back to the question and look at my materials, my material expense for 36,000 units is 162,000, and if that's all variable, to work out the variable cost per unit, it would be just 162 divided by 36. So 162 divided by 36,000 units is 450 per unit, and if I'm operating at 38,000 units, then it would be 38,000 multiplied by 4.5. Similarly with direct wages, if a 36,000 units, the cost is 187,200. Then if I get my 187,200 and divide it by 36, it is 520 per unit. So, and again, if I'm working with 38,000 units, it's going to be 38,000 by 520. The variable cost for production overheads, I've worked up above here. I've worked out above to be €4.35. So it's €4.35 for production overheads and €6.80 for other overheads. So that's where the €4.35 and the €6.80 are coming from. So 38,000 by €4.35, and this is 38,000 by €6.80. We work those out both. And that will leave me with total variable costs of 792,300. Now, the fixed costs, I worked out the fixed costs above for production overheads from part 1 was 28,000. The fixed costs I worked out above for other overheads here are 6,000, and administration are completely fixed overheads, so they would always go in here under fixed costs as 40,500 from the question. And we can see that they're fixed because they don't change no matter what the level of output is. So I'm going to add these down. My total fixed costs come to 74,500. So now that I have my total costs and my variable costs, so my fixed costs and my variable costs, I can work out my total costs. So my total costs are going to be 792,300 plus 74,500. and that comes to 866,800. So my total costs are 866,800. Well, if profit is budgeted to be 20% of sales, then total cost must be 80% of sales. So if I get my total cost, and if I divide that by 80, and if I multiply it by 100, I should fill that in over here, sorry. So if I get my total cost divided by 80%, multiply it by 100% is 1,083,500. So total cost divided by 80% multiplied by 100% will give me my sales of 1,083,500. So if I fill that in above then, so now I have my sales come to 1,083,500. I can now complete my flexible budget because my sales minus my variable cost give me a contribution of 291,200, and that contribution less the fixed costs leave me with a profit of 216,700. That is part A complete now. Part B then says, assume that Condon is currently operating at 100% capacity and is considering two capital expenditure options costing 8,000 each as follows. So the first option is to want to modernize machinery, which will save 60 cents per unit in the production overheads. So they are working at 100% capacity and they will save 60 cents per unit in production overheads. So to look at that, the flexible budget is going to be fairly similar to before, only though now instead of working at 95%, they're going to be working at 100%. Okay, so again here, if 36,000 is 90%, we'll get that from the question, 36,000 units is 90%. If I divide that by 90 and multiply that by 100, it says 40,000 units. We're going to be operating at 40,000 units if we operate at 100%. The only other thing that changes from the original budget that we did was that the machinery will save 60 cents per unit in the production overheads. So from the question, above production overheads were €4.35. Now if we're saving 60 cents, instead of being €4.35, they're going to be €3.75 to go down by 60 cents. And everything else will stay, all these other costs will stay the same. So it'll be 455, 26, 80, and the fixed are fixed, so they'll stay the same. But the units have changed. So here, for direct materials, now it's going to be 40,000 units by the cost of 450 stays the same. Wages are going to be 40,000 units again, and the 520 will stay the same. Production overheads are going to be 40,000 units by, they have now changed to €3.75. And other overhead costs again are 40,000 units by 680 to 680 stays the same. So if I total up my variable costs, they come to 810,000. Now for my fixed costs. As we said before, the fixed costs are fixed, so they won't change. So the production overheads are 28,000, other overheads are 6,000, and administration overheads are 40,500. So my total fixed costs come to 49,300. So that should be 28,000, not 2,800. So they come to 74,500, the same as above. So now again, because we have our total costs, we'll be able to work out our sales. So the total costs are 810,000 plus 74,500, which come to 884,500. Now that 884,500, the total cost is 80% of sales. So to work out the sales, so again, my total cost, I'm going to get 884,500. So it's going to be 884,500 divided 884,500. So it's going to be 884,500 divided by 80% multiplied by 100%, which comes to 1105,625. So my sales now are going to be 1105,625. So I can fill that in above. And now I'll be able to get my contribution, because my contribution is going to be my sales. Again, less my variable cost is my contribution. And my contribution less my fixed cost will give me my profit of 221,125. That is option 1 completed, the profit for option 1. Option 2 says they might buy the new machinery which will increase the plant's capacity by 10%. So instead of operating at 100%, they're now going to be operating at 110%, while reducing all fixed overheads, including administration, by 8%. So all the fixed overheads are going to go down by 8%. So again, there's just 2 slight changes here now for option B. Instead of operating at 100%, we're now going to be operating at 110%. So again, if 36,000 units are 90%, if I divide that by 90, and now I'm multiplying by 110, now we're going to be operating at 44,000 units. None of the variable costs have changed. They're the same as the original ones, which are 450, 520, 435, and 680. But our fixed costs will go down by 8%. So to start off the variable costs, now we're going to be operating at 44,000 units by 450. Wages are going to be 44,000 units by 520. Production overheads are going to be 44,000 units by 435, and other overheads are going to be 44,000 units by 680. So in total, my variable costs come to 917,400. My fixed costs. So to get my fixed costs, in the question, it says for option 2 that all fixed costs will be reduced by 8%. So if they're reduced by 8%, then they're 92% of what they originally were. So the production overheads were originally 28,000. If they're reduced by 8%, then they're 92% of that, which is 25,760. Other overheads were originally 6,000. Again, if they're reduced by 8%, they're 92% of what they originally were, which is 5,520. And administration overheads were 40,500, and if they're reduced by 8%, then they're 92% of that, which is 37,260. So that leaves me with total fixed costs of 68,540. So again, my total cost now will be my variable cost of 917,400 plus my fixed cost of 68,540, which will leave me with total costs of 985,940. And then if 985,940, so that's going to be 985,940 my total costs. So then to get my sales, if I get my 985,940 divided by 80 multiplied by 100, leaves me with total sales of 123,2425. So if I fill that in above here again, my sales are going to be 123,2425, and now I can complete my flexible budget. So my sales less my variable cost leaves me with my contribution of 315,025, and my contribution less my fixed costs leave me with a profit of 246,485. And the question says, so we were required to prepare flexible budgets, we've that done, and then advise the company on the best option. So the advice we would give them is option 2 should be chosen, as you earn a profit of 246,485 compared to a profit of 221,125 for option 1. So we can see that option 2 is better because the profit is 246,485 compared to option 1 where the profit was just 221,125. So that is part B of the question complete, and part C is theory. The first part says distinguish between the terms contribution and profit. So it says here, contribution is sales revenue less variable cost. This goes towards paying off the fixed costs. Once the fixed costs are paid off, any further contribution goes towards profit. So profit is sales less total cost. So contribution is sales less variable costs. Profit is sales less total cost, which is your fixed and your variable element. And part 2 says, outline why Connacht Limited will prepare a flexible budget. So they will prepare a flexible budget to show management the cost levels at different levels of production, to compare actual costs and budgeted costs at the same level of activity, to compare budgeted costs and actual costs in order to identify variances, and this allows corrective action to be taken, and it will also help in controlling costs or planning production levels. It is misleading to compare the budgeted costs at one level of activity with the actual costs at a different level of activity. So I hope you found this useful, and if you did, would you please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.